Hello and welcome to the In the Pocket podcast. I'm Logan Martin. That's Max Sturm. And that is also Xander Cook. We're happy to bring you our Week 18 recap video. We had a great week of divisional matchups full of playoff implications. Teams that didn't get in, teams who did get in. Yeah, we got some playoff matchups to talk about, like to preview. We're not going to give out our picks video on this, but we will talk about them a little bit. A bunch of coaches got fired today, so whole bunch of topics. But we'll start with one of the three games we want to talk about from Week 18, and that is the Carolina Panthers, who played in Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. This was a torrential downpour. As someone who heard a bunch of people were going to take the over in this game, and then to turn the TV on, it looked like a hurricane outside. Max, you brought it up. You feel like Carolina got screwed a little bit in that game. I don't disagree. So you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, on one drive for Carolina in the second half where, they were trying to turn the momentum around. It seemed like they were doing so. Bryce Young was kind of getting a groove. That offense was starting to work out. There was the one play where it was a backwards pass or whatever, and they said that it went out of bounds, and it kind of fucked them over, and it didn't. It didn't go out of bounds. He caught it, and he ran forward a little bit, and I believe that was Rico Dowdle. And then not too long later on the same drive, you have the no call on, I believe, again, Rico Dowdle's helmet being ripped off his head, and it was clear as day. I don't know how you as an NFL referee do not call that. And we saw something similar a few weeks ago with Buffalo, where Deion Dawkins ripped the helmet off of Myles Garrett, and it wasn't called. So I don't know what these referees are missing. Things like that have been happening recently, and they're not getting called. But that's two calls on that one drive. And then the third one is the worst call, and it's Tet McMillan getting called for pass interference when he's making contact 2 yards away from the line of scrimmage to try and create separation. And Logan, you know this as a wide receiver and a former player yourself. You're taught to be physical at the line and get yourself a little bit of room and give yourself any advantage that you can, because you get that a little bit of space to do that, and then you take off and go. And so for the referees to call that on Tet McMillan after he makes the big play, the flag didn't even come down until he made the catch. It's disgusting. It's terrible officiating. And I'm not a guy who believes in like the NFL being scripted or whatever, but I think that the NFL sometimes maybe thinks about who the better matchup would be in the playoffs, and giving Tampa Bay at least a chance to be there would be way better for them than Carolina hosting a playoff game. And now we know that the Carolina Panthers are going to host a playoff game anyway, thanks to the win from Atlanta. But I think that one of two things is true, or maybe both. Either they're being told like, hey, help Tampa Bay out a little bit where you can, or two, I think that the referees just love having airtime, or they have biases, and
Yeah.
it's unchecked in today's NFL.
Yeah, I mean, the bias is a whole nother story. I don't know much about that I can speak on, but I will say when it comes to that offensive pass interference, as a wide receiver, especially with a frame like Ted McMillan, you're 6'4", 200 plus pounds. You're much bigger than the normal NFL wide receiver. You can you can expect to get jammed at the line of scrimmage a lot by defensive backs, whether it's in press man or maybe a press bailout to zone. But either way, you have to be physical at the point of attack as an NFL wide receiver. If you allowed a DB to get his hands into your chest, you already lost the route. So for Ted to be the one who initiated contact, good for him. Like, that was a good release and a good way to,
Right, so you
get
disagree
open.
with the call.
I disagree with the call, but I also don't know what the exact rule is, because at first I thought that the rule was if there's contact within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage before the ball is thrown, it's cool. But now I'm seeing things that it has to be within 1 or 2 yards, and I don't know
Well,
which sort.
regardless, it was within 2 yards. He
No,
would
it was
literally.
at 4 or 5 yards, but nonetheless, the ball wasn't thrown. It was. I counted out the yards. I watched this back and back and back, and I'm trying to think about where it could be. I was waiting to see where Bryce Young released the football, and he released the football when Tet was like at the 10-yard line. Like, Tet did his thing before the ball was thrown. So if that's the rule, then it was completely legal. That was a fine move. If it's you have to do it before the ball's thrown, fine. But if there's something like, okay, you can't do it past 2 yards, something with that, then I'm probably wrong. But when it comes to a football mind, just seeing that play, I thought it was a really good release. I thought he was physical. Didn't allow the DB to put his hands in his chest, and he won the route.
Yep. Xander, you got anything on that?
Yeah, honestly, at the at the end of the day, I think it was just more so that the Panthers simply aren't built for the moment. They had to rely on an outside team to win them the division. They controlled their own destiny heading into this matchup, and they failed to capitalize on it. Sure, you can argue about the no calls. I mean, that backwards pass eventually made a field goal a lot tougher. Officials missed a Bucks defender rip Tremble's helmet. Tet McMillan, that 33-yard first down, like you guys mentioned, wiped away by offensive pass interference. And then the very next possession, a defensive pass interference that benefited the Buccaneers after Nick Scott and Kate Otten appeared to get their feet tangled. So, as a Panthers fan, yes, it's definitely frustrating. It sucks that officials played a pivotal role in that matchup. The Panthers' performance was also abysmal. Rico Dowdle or Chuba Hubbard, they couldn't average over 2 yards per carry. They were held to 19 total rushing yards. Um, by far Tampa's best run defensive game this entire season. And because they couldn't get anything going on the ground, Bryce Young couldn't capitalize anything through the air because he was throwing in a monsoon. So it was just a lot of shoot yourself in the foot kind of mistakes. And that's bad news if you're the Panthers. I mean, that's now back-to-back weeks where the team in general just fell flat. And now you're heading into the playoffs against a very, very tough Rams team that's scoring over 30 points per game. That's letting under 20 points per game. It's led by what could be the league MVP in Matthew Stafford. They have Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams might be back. The defense is killer. You have Sean McVay coaching. So it's not looking good for Carolina. They shot themselves in the foot, but they were gifted a win or the division the very next day. And you know what I have to say to that is ball don't lie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
these are. Go ahead, bum.
sorry, I was just gonna say, no, you bring up a good point. The Panthers still did lose this game. They were really disadvantaged by some calls from the referees, but they absolutely did lose the game. It was tough weather. The offense couldn't get going, like you said. They had 19 total rushing yards. It just wasn't working
Yeah,
out for them. Bryce Young wasn't playing his best ball.
yeah, you're not going to win any game with 14 carries for 19 yards. That's horrible, especially when your whole run has been banking on. I mean, your whole offense has been banking on the run game,
Hmm.
and that's where the successes come from. Moving on to next game, Detroit and Chicago. I didn't pick this because I predicted it right. I predicted that Detroit would upset Chicago, but I think there are some talking points in this game. Not only because a really good Lions team last year is now missing the playoffs in 2025. Detroit handled business, and I think there are a lot of talking points in this game. But I'm gonna let you guys kick it off if you watch any of that game. If not, I'll go right ahead.
I didn't
Yeah, I
watch
mean,
too much of it, so yeah, Xander, go ahead.
it was 16-0 Detroit, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is how Chicago is going to play with the 2 seed on the line. This is really disappointing. Granted, again, it's against a Lions team that many people had heading into the playoffs and making a deep run at the beginning of the year. Still, in January, with all things considered, where these two teams stand, you're down 16-0. That's inexcusable. That shouldn't be happening. But they end up tying the game at 16. They were down 16-0, ended up tying it. They just couldn't get Detroit off the field. They lost at the buzzer on a Jake Bates field goal. But luckily for Chicago, the loss didn't really matter as much as you'd think it would because Philadelphia ended up losing to Washington minutes later. So Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears, they're ultimately that number 2 seed, and they will host the Green Bay Packers at home Saturday Night Football. It's gonna be a banger. Can't wait to watch it. But I don't know, man. The past 2 weeks it's just been really, really bad defense on Chicago. We saw it against San Francisco, and then it was just really, really bad offense against Detroit. And mind you, this is a Detroit defense that's missing a lot of key starters. So there's a lot of concern heading into this Green Bay matchup. I'm not too confident that they win the game at home against Green Bay solely because of how they played the past 2 weeks. And yeah, you can make the case for Green Bay, but no Jordan Love the past couple weeks. They rested almost every single starter against Minnesota. So they're getting a lot of rest for most of their starters heading into that matchup. Not only that, the Bears defense allowed Detroit to just walk up and down the field. I believe over 430 yards of offense for Detroit. A lot of concern for that Chicago defense.
Yeah, and that's going to play a huge part in that game when they face the Packers. Will the Packers be at full strength? Will Jordan Love come back the same? Toyotathon's over, Xander, so you don't know. You never know with them. Logan, what do you got on this game? Because I didn't watch too much of it.
Yeah, I think some numbers on the Detroit side of things are a little interesting. Amon-Ra, first of all, it's clear he was the top target for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions this season. Jameson Williams didn't play the role he played last year in the offense this year. So just put a lot more on Amon-Ra. Tied for the most red zone targets in the NFL. He, with Devontae Adams, as you could probably guess, he has scored in one of his last 6 games. Clearly a schematical issue with Detroit, and if you watch any of that game, they stalled out in the red zone. It was pretty tough to watch because they marched right down the field, and then once it got in the red zone, it was 3 and out, 3rd and 10, and they end up kicking a field goal. So then it kind of reverts to, Ben Johnson's gone. He's the head coach of the Chicago Bears now. So now you have to fill in that hole in the offseason. Are you going to stick with your offensive coordinator who currently isn't calling plays for you right now? Or are you going to go out and try to find a new offense coordinator, which I think they should do. I don't think Detroit should settle after what they went through last year with one of the best, if not the best offensive mind in NFL. And I think Isaac TeSlaa is going to be a big bright spot for the Lions. He might be one of the best number 3 receivers in the league next year. And a couple of other interesting stats. Jared Goff has been sacked 38 times this year. We've talked about his happy feet against him facing good defensive lines. That's the second most times he's been sacked in his career. And it's the most he's been sacked in his career. And it's been the most since 2021 when he was sacked 35 times. The Lions went 3-13 that year. Jared Goff has been knocked down as many times as Justin Herbert, who has both of his all-pro tackles who have missed most of the season. So clearly blocking issues with the Detroit Lions, issues up front. Maybe it's, Goff holding on the football too long. I don't think it's much of that. I just think when you have receivers like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, a really good tight end like Laporta, guys who can beat you down the field, it takes time to develop. You have to have 2.5, 3 seconds in the pocket sometimes. And with an offensive line like that, you're going to get sack. So definitely some interest. Another stat I want to put out there, Jared Goff has had 23 drop passes from his receivers this year. 20 of the 23 have come from Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, who are tied for the most drops in the NFL with 10 apiece. Tied with Brian Thomas Jr. and Jerry Jeudy. So clearly something going on. Maybe they're not getting open. But last game they got open. I'll tell you what, the Bears, if I'm playing the Bears in the playoffs, I'm licking my chops watching that tape, seeing that man-to-man defense. They cannot play man-to-man to save their freaking lives, man. I'm watching the Lions, as soon as, pre-snap, they're giving it away man-to-man. Cover 1. Giving it away pre-snap. Jared Goff's a vet. He knows it. And it's just crosser routes, it's deep in-cut routes, it's deep out-cut routes that are just creating so much separation, and the Lions just torch the Bears. So again, we're talking about the Bears defense being a concern. I know they held them to 16 points, but it felt like the Lions could have scored 30 that game. So Lions got it done. Done.
Well, think about next week too for the Bears and that defense. They're going to be facing the Packers who, I wouldn't say have like the clear-cut number 1 guy. They've got a table full of guys who can make plays in Romeo Doubs.
Yeah.
Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, guys who can get open and guys who will get open against that defense. So they really got to pull something together defensively for sure.
Do you see that the first touchdown for the Bears? It was 16-0 in the fourth quarter. I think it was Jade, the rookie receiver for Chicago, number 20.
Walker.
He ran a deep post route to score the first touchdown for Chicago. I don't know if you watched, but if you ever watched the clip.
Oh, Jade Walker.
If you ever watched the clip, I think it's Meek Robertson, number 21, the cornerback for the Detroit Lions, in a deep cover 3 shell, probably 9-10 yards off the line of scrimmage, shaded 6 yards outside of him. All you had to do was run a deep post route. He was wide open across the middle of the field. So, Caleb Williams has been making plays. He's putting the ball on people, but we've also talked about him missing people. I don't know if you know who has the most bad balls in the NFL, but it is Caleb Williams, and that is per Fantasy Pros. So he definitely has the most misses when it comes to the easy conversion, but he's also been sacked the most time in the NFL. And last year we talked about how bad he was standing in the pocket. How about we start giving Caleb Williams credit and Ben Johnson credit? Because this man can stand in the pocket and can escape the pocket with the best of them in the NFL. And this is coming after what we saw last year with his poor pocket presence.
Well, it wasn't just poor pocket presence; it was poor
Blocking.
presence in general. Yeah, poor blocking
Yeah.
as well. They had a terrible offensive line last
Much
year.
improved too this year.
Much improved, but again, like you said, still the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. And it wasn't just in the pocket that he was bad. It was when he was out, had to extend plays too. He kind of struggled on that end too. So much improved this year. But you're right, he does throw some bad balls here and there. And but you expect that out of a sophomore guy.
Right. Right. Moving on. Last game I want to talk about before we dive into coaches and playoffs. So we got the Ravens at the Steelers. Again, I've said it every week, game of the week, but this is truly can go toe to toe with any game I've watched this season. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was four lead changes by a touchdown in the final 9 minutes of that game. When's the last time
Yep.
we've ever seen that? So,
Right.
and I'll lead it off because I mean I have more to add after I feel like Max and Xander goes, but I'll lead it off with Aaron Rodgers had one of the best career games, one of his best career games. And I know statistically it probably wasn't the best. It probably didn't look the best because of how the offense is run, who he's thrown to. But considering his receivers last night came into the game
Yes.
with 54
Yes.
total catches,
Yep.
there were 57 individual wide receivers in the NFL with more than 54 receptions. And that's what Aaron Rodgers had to work with as a team. As a
Mm-hmm.
team, 54 catches going into that game, and they handled business against a team that was expecting to come in and not shock people, but run all over the Steelers.
Yeah, and you know
And
what? I don't care how old Aaron Rodgers is and how much I don't like him as a person. Respect him as a
I
football
love him
player
as a
throughout his
person.
you do. Okay.
I do. I don't have any problems with him as a person. I think he's real, and I think authenticity is one of the
I
biggest.
think that there are parts of him that are real, and then there's like I think he's just an asshole at times. But we won't get into the personal part of it. Just from a game standpoint, I respect the guy and his career. I don't care how old he is. He's always going to have that clutch gene in him, and he did in a big moment last night. Xander, I'm going to toss this over to you, but before you start, just a precursor for this. You are not allowed to say anything good about the Steelers because you were actively rooting against them.
I'm allowed to say something good. All right. I can do whatever I want. This is a podcast and I'm a Steelers fan. Okay. But no. Here's what I will say. Yes, I was actively rooting against them. I am a big Tomlin disbeliever. I still am. I was really hoping our season would just end where we'd have fire Tomlin chance again, and finally I'd be released of this prison. But there's a coach who's worse than Tomlin in the NFL, and his name is John Harbaugh, who's on the
Mm-hmm.
opposite side. So this game, like all of us have mentioned, this is game of the year potential. Honestly, it's top two for me, and it's because of that fourth quarter, and it's because of the circumstances. And honestly, the circumstances could bring it up to number one as game of the year. Here's what I will say. It was just a flawless fourth quarter from Aaron Rodgers. He didn't look good in the first quarter. He didn't look good in the second quarter. He didn't look good in the third quarter. He missed a lot of open throws. Obviously, not having DK in there or Washington in there kind of screws the pooch. But that fourth quarter, I don't know what happened, whether he popped a Percocet or he took another ashwagandha retreat or some shit like that. This dude had the greatest fourth quarter, one of the greatest fourth quarters I've ever seen from an NFL quarterback. He was calling his own plays. It felt like the entire quarter was just a 2 minute drill where Rodgers is calling his own plays. He's looking at Arthur Smith, waving him down, saying, "No, I'm running this play," and he'd execute it to perfection. That was if we get more of Rodgers calling his own plays, I do believe that the Steelers could maybe make a deep playoff run. But quarters 1 through 3, it's mainly Arthur Smith calling. We had our defense stood tall for the most part. We had Derrick Henry go off for over 120 rushing yards, but in the second half, we sort of quieted him. Um, we held Lamar kind of in check. There's just those two busted coverages, and those were the difference makers in Lamar's performance. But outside of that, I think our offense played really, really well in the fourth quarter, and that's something I am surprised about. We went toe for toe with the division on the line. We had a flawless 60-yard drive where it ended in a Kenneth Gainwell touchdown to take the lead, and then right after that, busted coverage. Zay Flowers walks into the end zone. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Because I want the Steelers to lose and how they're playing in this fourth quarter right now, we're going to score the game-winning touchdown. And sure enough, Calvin Austin put his defender on skates wide open in the end zone. Rodgers throws a dot. We get the touchdown, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to win the division. It's a 4th and 7. We get after Lamar. He somehow gets away from TJ Watt, launches it over the middle of the field, and Isaiah Likely comes down with the catch, sets up a game-winning field goal, and I'm thinking to myself, man, how comical is it to lose this game like that? And then you look back at it. Ravens have a rookie kicker. He's been perfect inside of 50 yards the entire season. That was mentioned on the broadcast. They just like Justin Tucker. How hilarious would it be if this kid were to miss a field goal with Justin Tucker getting a massage and watching? And sure enough, that is exactly what happened. Wide right from Loop to give the Steelers the division crown. And mind you, the field goal probability of Tyler Loop's missed 44-yard game-ending kick was 79.3%. It was his first missed field goal inside 50 yards all season. He was previously 29-29 and then just misses it. I thought it was hilarious. A part of me in the back of my mind was like, I think he's going to miss this kick. Sure enough, he did. I want to talk about the play beforehand, and this is why I think John Harbaugh should be fired, and we all said he should be fired. Here's why Tomlin isn't the worst coach in the league, in my opinion, and it's John Harbaugh. The play before, instead of giving your kicker extra yard or a shorter amount of yards to kick a game-winning field goal, you need the ball. You need the ball. Make it 44 yards instead of 42 yards, or probably even 39 yards if you give it to Henry, and make it a chip shot field goal. Instead, you take the knee. So now it sets up a 44-yarder, and he missed the field goal. Why aren't you running Derrick Henry? You still have a timeout left. He's averaging 6-7 yards per carry all night. You give him that rock one more time. You take the timeout. That field goal, instead of 44 yards, it could be a 36-yarder, and the Ravens end up winning that game. That choice to kneel the ball is what costed the Ravens that win, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It did. So think about what Lamar Jackson had on the line right there. He did everything that he had to do. He goes out. He's the one in charge of this offense. I don't think John Harbaugh really had much say in that final drive up until that point. But it's 4th and 7. He had just taken the sack or had thrown out of a sack rather. It's 4th and 7. He puts up a beautiful ball to Isaiah Likely, and they're on the broadcast talking about how Isaiah Likely just redeemed himself, yada yada. And then they're starting to hype up the kicker and getting him ready to go. And then they take that kneel down, and you're right, that is on John Harbaugh. Why are you not trying to make it shorter? You had
I
time.
disagree with you guys.
You had timeouts. Yeah, we'll get to you in a second on that. Run Henry up the middle, man. I mean, I know he's had fumble issues in the past, but have the guy put two hands on the ball, run up the middle, and even if you get 3 yards,
He should have put two hands on the ball in week one. He should have put, like, it's all hindsight. Like, if they get, that's the reason they took the knee. If Derrick Henry didn't have these fumble issues, yeah, you run up the middle with Derrick Henry. But what happens if he fumbles?
Yeah, but
what happens if he fumbles and they don't even get a field goal up?
Same
because
outcome.
We've seen it
same outcome regardless.
Times.
Same outcome regardless.
Yes, but it's a 40 to 44 yard field goal with no wind. There was no wind at the game last night.
Yeah, something was in the air because he had the missed extra point too.
Go watch the game right now.
There was no wind, but something was in the air.
Go watch the field goal and tell me if you saw those field goal flags moving.
Where Loop is kicking, that is in the end zone where it is hardest to kick in the NFL for that stadium in that back end zone. The odds of missing a kick are actually pretty high, considering even if it's a 45-yard field goal, and wind or not. I don't know what it is, but something in the air, it makes it hook. It's just weird, that part of the end zone. And mind you, could it have been? There's a couple conspiracies, all right? Number one, and we've seen this in college football, right behind the goalpost, fan holding a sign that says John 3:16. Anytime you see a John 3:16 post, someone misses a field goal. So it happened again. And then there's other news that came out minutes before the game or minutes after the game ended. You see a priest throwing holy water in the back end zone, and it's the same end zone. Loop misses the field goal. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I disagree with you, Logan. I think you run Henry up the middle. I mean, yes, he's had the fumbles, but what are the odds that he
What are
fumbles
the
it
odds
again?
he fumbles the last 3 times? Like, it's all hindsight. No matter what you say, like every single person in that situation probably doesn't take a knee there.
But
Maybe they run the football, but it's
with
50 to
30
50.
seconds on the clock,
There was
Logan, like
15
you've
seconds on the
got it.
clock,
Okay, still
12 seconds.
you've got time to run the
Okay.
play
So what
and then
happens? They
call the
try to run the
timeout.
ball. They try to run the ball up the middle, and the Steelers stuff them for -3. It's the same thing. Like the Steelers defense was stuffing the run game all second half. He had 12 rushing yards in the second half. You think he's just going to pick up 3?
Derrick Henry was averaging 6.5 a carry.
He was average. He had 12 rushing yards in the second half. You think he's just going to pick up 3 yards when they need 3 yards?
Yeah, we only had 12 yards because
When
they
they
were
know he's going
airing
to
it
run
out
it?
after they were playing from behind.
Yeah, I don't think. I think knee it or don't knee it. It's a 40 to 44 yard field goal, regardless. So it sucks he missed it. Like you hate to see it from a rookie kicker. Like you hope that doesn't affect his whole career. But
Justin
calling
Tucker's rubbing his
John Harbaugh
hands.
at fault for taking that knee is I just think it's hypocritical based on what we've seen from Derrick Henry and John Harbaugh this year.
I
And
think Justin Tucker is rubbing his hands after that.
he's getting a massage. That's what
Probably was getting one while he's
that's
watching
what
that.
Jack said. We were texting about it this morning, me and Jack, and I said, yeah, uh, Derek or Justin Tucker's sitting on his couch sipping wine right now, and he's like, yeah, while he's getting a massage. I was like, it's funny, but at the same time, on a more serious note, um, Tyler Loop has been getting a ridiculous amount of death threats and threats towards his family and from other people. That's not
Dog,
okay.
are we shocked? It's Baltimore. Of
Yeah,
course he's gonna get death
Yeah,
threats.
Yeah,
yes,
my
but
buddy broke his window last night.
yeah. All I'm saying is that there is no place for that in sports whatsoever. I don't
No,
care.
absolutely not.
I don't care if you missed the game-winning kick of the Super Bowl. You, no one deserves to have death threats sent their way, or to their
I love
family.
how Max says that as if he wasn't alive in the 90s, he wouldn't be sending death threats to the Jets
I've
kicker. That
never
went
sent a death
wide
threat, and
right.
I trust me, I have had bad thoughts about some players, man, but never have I
Yeah,
wanted to send a death threat.
same.
Plus, I'll
wanna
also
hear
say this. I'll also say this. Scott Norwood, the man who missed the game-winning kick in the Super Bowl, was met with love from the city. He was praised when he came back to Buffalo. Let me just throw that out there.
All right. All right.
Did you hear Skip Bayless? Why do we let non-football players decide games by trying to kick the ball between 2 poles?
Skip Bayless.
Are you kidding me? There's no is that an actual tweet? Did he seriously tweet that?
Skip Bayless is such a joke, man.
Oh, God.
I've never been a Skip Bayless fan, and I really lost all respect for Skip Bayless.
It's like that ninja tweet. You can't make a 40-yard field goal. You have a bunch of soccer players. Just hire one of them.
Yeah, I lost all my respect for Skip Bayless when he started taking personal shots at Shannon Sharp on the show and
Yeah.
making things not about football. But I never was a fan of him anyway. So Logan,
You know what's funny?
if that's a real tweet,
No, he did say that. Why do we let non-football players decide games by trying to kick the ball between 2 poles? Why do we let people who don't know football, like people who actually watch football, comment on the NFL? Skip, because I guarantee, like, name 3 defensive linemen on the Dallas Cowboys.
which is his favorite team, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so next week, packed with a lot of action. Playoffs, I can get those pulled off, but I know we'll talk about it in our next video when we do our picks. But the playoff picture is looking nice. We got the Chargers going across country to play the Patriots, which matchup to matchup. That could be a problem for the Patriots. That could be a pretty close game. And then we got Jaguars and Bills. What do the Jaguars get by going on one of the best winning streaks to finish out the year and being the hottest team in the NFL? You get to host Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in your first playoff game. That's their reward. So, and then the Steelers and Texans. We're going to have to see how Aaron Rodgers orchestrates the offense against a superior defense and a really good defensive line. Are you going to be able to dink and dunk when you got, safeties and cornerbacks and linebackers and defensive linemen? The whole defense can just swarm to the football. Like, it's not going to be that easy to get 4 yards on a swing pass to Kenneth Gainwell, like it will be against or like it won't
We're
be against
getting
Houston.
6 points if that.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, I mean Texans, they put their foot off the pedal on this game. They probably thought that Jacksonville was going to beat Tennessee, so they really didn't have to worry about winning or losing this game. They just anyway. And then on the other side, who do we got? We got the Chicago Bears and the Packers, and then we got the Eagles and the 49ers, and then the Panthers and the Rams, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at that right there, I think the Eagles 49ers is a really intriguing matchup. You got one bad offense, one great offense, one bad defense, and one great defense.
Mm-hmm.
And those
defense
games,
wins games.
yeah, those games can be really interesting. And then the Bears, I think they might be the worst 2 seed we've seen in a long time. So this, and I mean that because I think if, let's see, who are they playing? They're playing the Packers. I mean, if the Packers are fully healthy, they win that game. So yeah, I know the Bears are favored by 1.5 points, but there's a reason Williams is pressured as much as he's pressured, and there's a reason that the defense is getting torched in man to man. They can't play coverage right now. So interesting game on both sides, AFC and NFC. Boys, Max, who is your matchup to watch other than your Bills?
Other
Jaguars
than the
game?
Bills, I honestly have the Patriots and Chargers. I think that is going to be a fantastic matchup. I can't wait to both of these quarterbacks. Let's remember, Justin Herbert only has one playoff game of experience. He played against the Jaguars a few years ago, had a 27-point lead, and they blew it to the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. So he's only playing in his second matchup. Drake May's playing in his very first playoff matchup. So a little bit of inexperience from both of these teams, both of these quarterbacks coming into this. Chargers haven't been in a few years. Patriots haven't been in a few years. It is going to be a fun game to watch. The Patriots are very, very well led by Mike Vrabel, who you already know will have a plan to put pressure on Justin Herbert, considering the situation with their offensive linemen. At the same time, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to have a great offensive plan to try and combat that defense. Drake May, can he pick it up? Can he prove that he can win big games against tougher opponents? The argument against his MVP case this year is that his strength of schedule was one of the easiest in the league. I think second easiest behind those San Francisco 49ers statistically. He's beaten two teams. Yes, you look at it, that's what it is.
The San Francisco 49ers have the easiest strength of schedule
Yep.
when they have to play the Rams and the Seahawks twice. That doesn't make
Yep.
any sense. But anyway,
That's what the pre
preseason.
preseason
Okay.
polls had it.
Okay,
Yes.
that makes more sense than. Yeah.
In the Patriots, Drake May has beaten two teams over 500 this year. So he's got to go out and prove that he can beat a team in the playoffs. So I think it's going to be really interesting, solely from a quarterback matchup and also from a coaching matchup as well, because you got an offensive-minded head coach going up against a defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah, my game, actually, Xander, you give yours because my game's going to shock you guys. Xander, who you guys, your game, other than your Steelers facing off against the Texans?
You really think I would have had that as my game?
No, hell no.
Well, yeah,
I would disagree with you if you did.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's the worst game of the week. And Logan, I'm predicting yours to be Rams Panthers. That's what I'm
Dude,
predicting.
what the fuck? How'd you know that?
Bro, you say
it's
one that we're not
chocolate.
going to expect. Every single one of these games is good except like on paper, except that one.
Dude, no. And I say that because the Panthers have already beat the Rams. And when you beat a superior team like that, all you have to do is beat them once. I know it's so hard to beat them twice, but like if you beat them once, at least you have the confidence to go in there. And it's played in Carolina. When's the last time they've had a playoff game?
Hear me out. Cam Newton banging the drum in pregame.
And Bryce Young is playing for his career in Carolina right now.
I wouldn't say career.
I
Eh,
think he's revitalized himself
if
to
he
get at
should
least
not,
one
I
more.
don't know about revitalized. I think if he shits, I don't know if the
He made the
Panthers
playoffs, dude. Like no
They won
quarterback
the
has done
because of
that for
division.
the
Bryce Young.
Panthers in
You
10
think
years.
Bryce Young? You think Bryce Young is the
You
reason
know
they
how
made it to the
many of
playoffs?
those wins were because of Bryce Young
Yeah.
game-winning
One
drives?
or two?
Like 3 or 4.
How many
Throwing the
games did Bryce
football?
Young
Name
have
them.
over
Name
400
them.
yards? I
Name
think
them.
3 at least.
That there's the Dolphins game, the
How many games do
Cowboys
you have under
game.
200? Like it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, but he
You
still led them
okay?
to
Listen,
game-winning
I
drives.
talked shit on Bryce Young at the beginning of this year, and
Okay,
I
he
said
had
the one thing that he can
one
do
game over
is he
400
can
yards.
win
He has
you.
one,
He
two,
can win.
three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games under 200, and he has one game over 400 yards.
Okay, and when we
Yeah,
talked about this
but
early on in the year, we said, hey, I think Bryce Young had a 500-yard game too this year, by the way.
that
448.
was
It was close.
400.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was
yeah.
448. It was
Um,
big. Yeah.
we said Bryce Young, he's not ever going to be the reason that you win a game statistically, but he can go out there and he can craft game-winning drives, and he did that several times this year.
I'll agree with
Yeah,
With
you
he
on
did it
that.
against the Dolphins. He did it against the
I will
Cowboys,
disagree with you guys on the
the
fact that he
Packers,
is a lock. I think
Falcons,
it'll come down to this game, but I
Rams,
do agree with you where he'll have
Buccaneers.
120 passing yards, but in the fourth quarter he makes a couple big throws. Yeah, he's one of those. He's the quarterback who steps up and continues to make
I
big
mean,
throws.
Logan, the Carolina Panthers haven't made it to the playoffs in what 10 years at this point now,
Right.
9 or 10 years at this point. So the fact that he was able to bring this team back to the playoffs and give them a home playoff game, he's at least safe for next year.
I
Okay.
agree. I agree.
Okay.
Safe for next year. Safe
I
for
was
next year,
saying
not
last
his
week was
career.
his week to play for his career in Carolina. So and he didn't really have a great game. So I mean,
I see. I'd
he had
agree
a good
with you,
game, but
Logan.
it wasn't
I'd
great.
agree with you on that, except they ultimately won the division and they get a home playoff game.
I mean, did they really win the division though?
Hey, the rest of their
They-
competition, that's
Wanna
not up to
know-
him.
wanna know something
He did
funny?
what he had to do to win.
Had the Falcons beat the Jets, the Falcons would be NFC South champs.
Yeah, I mean the Falcons are better than the Panthers.
Yeah, we're being for real. We're gonna get into the coaches in a minute. My game of the week.
And clearly, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are better than the fucking Panthers. Go. I'm sorry.
my game,
I don't know
game-
how they're the number 4 seed. They're luck out. Yeah,
I
go.
told you they're a horrible team. They
Yeah.
don't let their record fool you. The Panthers suck. Okay, I'll die on that hill. My game of the week, you gotta go Bills Jags. You have to. And this was my primetime game. I would have given them Saturday night, Sunday night, or Monday night primetime. This matchup right here deserved primetime game. You get the reigning MVP, a team that's known to make somewhat of a deep playoff run year after year, versus an up-and-coming Jaguars team that's scoring over 36 points per game in the last month and a half. Their defense is second in takeaways. Liam Cohen led them to a 13-win season. This right here is what playoff football is all about. You get the MVP or the reigning MVP going up against a talented offense, and then you get an unbelievable, underrated Jaguars defense to try and limit that reigning MVP. I think this is going to be so peak, dude. I'm predicting right now this is going to come down within the final 2 minutes, probably like a 27-24 game-winning field goal, or maybe a 34-30 kind of game. It's going to be up there. I think this is going to be the best game of the wild card weekend by far. And I think we're going to get more than one exciting finish. I think we get at least 3 or 4 exciting finishes this week.
Josh Allen is going to have to control that football. He's going to have to not turn it over because that Jacksonville
yeah.
Jaguars defense could force some turnovers.
Oh, yeah, they're potent.
Buffalo is going to have a tough time with that defense, but Josh Allen, let's talk about the way he's played in these playoff games. With the exception of that one versus the Bengals, he has been fantastic. I mean, you look statistically, he has the best touchdown to interception ratio, best passer rating, best you name it in NFL history through the amount of games that he's started in the playoffs. You could argue that none of those losses to Kansas City were on him in any of those circumstances, that he did everything that he could possibly do and the defense sold him. In that last one last year in the AFC Championship, he had a chance. I think he got screwed over by saying that wasn't a first down on 4th and 1. But the ultimate reality is that he did have 3 minutes to go down and score. So if you want to say that wasn't a first down, he still had the chance. But ultimately, he's played great in all of those games. And you talk about this Bills defense, obviously they suck against the run. I think they've played a little bit better against the run recently, but they're still not a very good rushing team. However, the pass defense has been top tier. They have been very, very good as of late, and I believe they're still the number one pass defense team in the NFL at this point. Um, so it'll be interesting if they can limit them through the air. Is Jacksonville able to turn on the run game? I think that's what that comes down to, and it also comes down to can Josh Allen get it done on Sunday at 1 p.m. in a place where he has not had a ton of success. He's played there twice, has lost both games. So
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the Buffalo Bills defense, in my opinion. And I know we're going to talk about this game now. We're going to talk about it later in the week too. But I think it's going to come down to defense. And I say that because Josh Allen, if he can take the Buffalo Bills to the Super Bowl, he is by far the best player on this planet. By far the best player on this planet because he has not had the players around him like he's had in years past. And, time and
this is
time
the
again.
worst team he's gone to the playoffs
Right,
with.
right. And this is like in terms of like what we've seen from Josh Allen and the choke from Buffalo in years past, it's because it's 1-on-11. The Bills have proven that you need 11 guys playing elite football to win a Super Bowl. The NFL has proven that. And the Bills have proven that too, because Josh Allen's the only one who seems to show up, and he's the only reason they're in a game, and they ultimately lose because he isn't on the field to decide the game. We've seen it when Kansas City, they get the ball to finish. Other teams, they get the ball to finish. And it's because they can control the Buffalo defense and they can manipulate other players other than Josh Allen to make plays.
Let me just say an underrated part of the game plan for the Buffalo Bills has to be Sean McDermott's time management. You get
Yes.
down into a spot where you do have the lead, or it looks like you might be able to take
Finish
the
with
lead.
the
Your
ball.
offensive, you have to finish with the ball. That has screwed the Bills over time and time again in the playoffs. McDermott is hated for that one thing in Buffalo. He has got to be better managing the clock.
And this is going to be a tough test against Liam Cohen, who is much like a dark horse of Ben Johnson, like two very, very young, great offensive minds who have led their team from bottom to top. So,
Yeah.
boys, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap things up?
Oh, I feel like there was something. Oh
Coaches.
yeah, that what's that?
The coaches.
Yeah,
Coaches.
yeah. We could talk a little bit about the coaches.
Yeah. How about this? Give me your biggest surprise out of the coaching firing, and give me
Bengals
the one that
keeping
you're
Zach
happy
Taylor.
to see.
Bengals keeping Zach Taylor. I thought they'd fire him.
I think
Yeah.
if you have to make a statement why you're keeping your coach, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, well, that's
you're
absolutely
making a
true.
statement. Come on.
Well, and
Okay.
the other thing is I was really thinking that the Bengals were going to blow up the front office because,
That too,
again,
yeah.
I will die on the hill that Joe Burrow is to blame for this as well. But he's not the only factor. I mean, the front office could have said, and Xander, I'll get back to that point in a second. The front office, you had actually I'll get to it now. Joe Burrow had say in whether T. Higgins was staying and being paid the amount of money that he was. T. Higgins was very clear about how much money he wanted to make and that he was going to leave leave if he didn't get it there in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow made the push with that front office to get that deal done. And so in doing that, you have over $100 million per year, 120 something $million per year tied up between three players on offense, plus another 30 million for Trey Hendrickson on the defensive side. You have no room for anybody else. I don't think anybody else on that team is making more than $15 million per year. So that offensive line, that defense, they can't be better because you have no room to do it. And in signing T. Higgins, all you've done is make this team cap in cap hell for a longer period of time now. There's not a lot of room to do anything. One of them has to be traded. And so in saying that, I would say that the front office, I think they should be cleared out because they had the ability to say, Joe, I'm sorry, we can't do this. We have to look out for the betterment of the team. We have to look out for your health, and we have to have a defense. And they didn't do that.
I think if Joe Burrow played most of the season, we'd be having different talking points right now. I'm shocked that they're keeping Zach Taylor just because there's nothing has been going right for Cincinnati the past several seasons. But I also see the argument to keep him. Joe Burrow has been injured the majority of the season. He was injured last season, I believe, as well. The defense sucks, and it's basically because they're low in cap space. So I could see the argument to keep Zach Taylor. Personally, I would have fired him after last season. I just don't think he's a right fit in Cincinnati, and it's devastating to say that too because mind you, this is a guy that has gone to a Super Bowl. He has beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs. He almost won the Super Bowl with the Bengals. So it's just crazy to think how fast the NFL can change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm in agreement with you. I think Zach Taylor still being the coach is the biggest surprise. And I'm not so surprised that the Falcons got rid of their GM and Raheem Morris. You look at their
Yeah.
future, they have no pick in this upcoming draft. Their pick is expected to go 10 to 13, probably like 13 to the Rams, who are one of the best teams in the NFL. So and you use that first round draft pick to get Michael Penix. And what did you do with Michael Penix? You won 3-7. What did you do with Kirk Cousins? You won 5-2. So you paid $180 million to Kirk Cousins just to bench him and put Michael Penix in the spotlight. And now it's vice versa. So bunch of internal issues going on in Atlanta. They needed to clean slate. That GM was horrible. You know, he screwed
Yeah.
that roster over. And the
Don't get
clip
me
of
wrong,
him
it's still a talented roster
the
too.
clip of him explaining to Arthur Blank why he selected Michael Penix is just so hard to watch because I can just tell how that conversation is going and like he's not you have to have a different level of arrogance to spend that much
Wait,
money
wait.
on an injured quarterback and then draft a quarterback and trade a
What,
future first round pick for him.
what was the reasoning? I didn't see that clip.
Yeah, I didn't see the clip either.
You'd have to look it up. You can't hear what he's saying, but I know exactly what he's saying in that conversation. He's being arrogant and acting like he knows everything. I guarantee that's what it was. It's literally him in the meeting room in front of Arthur Blank, like with his hands up, like having to explain step by step why they just drafted Michael Penix for that pick. Like
Yeah, well,
it was the clip. It was literally after they drafted Michael Penix. You've seen that clip.
yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that trade or the pick
No,
really
yeah.
selection at all. You trade for a guy and pay up what was it, $140 million guaranteed,
100. Yeah, yeah.
something like that for a guy
Yeah.
who's coming off of a torn Achilles and is a little bit older, has had several injury problems in the past, and then you go out and you select Michael Penix with the eighth overall pick,
Yeah.
and neither guy has really panned out for you guys. I want to say I think the most surprising thing, and unless I missed something, I think this is still true at this very moment. Aaron Glenn's still with the Jets.
Yeah, how the hell is he still with the Jets? Mind you, this is the most absurd stat line you're ever gonna see in your life. It is the funniest stat line you're ever gonna see.
Was
in
it the
your
one
life.
they showed on the
The
broadcast
very
last night?
they are the first team in NFL history to not have an interception in the entire season.
That's horrible.
Interceptions have been recorded since the 30s, bro, and you didn't have a single interception on defense in 17 games from a defensive head coach, dude.
Did you see the graphic they put up last night during I think it was halftime or whatever, and it was like, guess this player, and it's like 36 touchdowns to 0 interceptions.
Every quarterback
It's
against the
all
Jets
Yeah, and
defense.
it said every quarterback against the New York Jets this season, dude. It's so sad for a defensive-minded head coach to not be able to form a defense that can get one interception all season. Dude, Mitch Trubisky should have thrown
Dotted
one.
them up. He dotted them
He
up, and
dotted him up. He had
is
260
so bad.
yards and 2 touchdowns. Bro, I mean, Trubisky even gifted them one, but he threw it to the guy with a club on his hand. They had a guy with a club on his hand out there playing middle
That's hilarious.
linebacker, bro. I was losing it. It's
Dude,
so funny.
Jermaine Johnson was in front of the media. Sorry, I just lost my marbles coughing. Jermaine, you made me laugh. Jermaine Johnson was in front of the media, admitted to it being the worst season he has ever been a part of. That alone should get your coach fired. I mean, we've seen
Right?
what was it, the Tennessee Titans, where their captain was in the meeting in the post-game press conference saying we had the worst week of practices we've ever had. And then the coach got fired shortly after this. You're literally admitting not just practice, games, practice, ins and outs, on and off the field. This is the worst season he's ever been a part of. And to be a defensive-minded coach, to get hired as a head coach, and then to let someone else run the defense is some of the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. If you're an offensive
Exactly,
coach
bro.
getting hired as a head
Exactly.
coach like Ben Johnson is, coach the offense. Aaron
I
Glenn,
Exactly.
honest,
coach the
So
defense. Why was Steve Wilkes
the
coaching the defense? He got fired nonetheless, but like still, why is he coaching the start? He sucked.
I think there's deeper issues with the Jets as a whole. It's
Woody starts from the
Woody.
top.
It's Woody Harrison, bro. He needs to he needs to sell the team. He has done nothing but be a sour apple his entire tenure during being an owner. Mind you, this is the same. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the same guy that listened to his grandson not to trade for Jerry Judy because of his Madden rating. This is the same owner that listened to his
well,
grandson for
and
that.
not, and how about the same guy that said he was not going to form a relationship with the quarterback that his team just went out and got with Justin
To be
Fields?
fair, I wouldn't have either. Justin Fields
Okay,
sucks.
listen, you are the owner of a team. I know you don't have a ton of say in necessarily the choices that are made, but if you're the owner of a team, you should be forming a relationship with your players on the field. I don't care who they are. Um,
I'll die
it's
on this hill. Justin Fields is in the Kenny Pickett tier of QBs.
And that's fine. That's fine. But you bring somebody in with the trust that they're going to be your starting quarterback. You own the team. You're the owner of a franchise in an elite sports league in the United States and that is recognized all around the world. Have a fucking relationship with your teammates, man. Or with your team. I don't care who it is. I don't care if you brought in Josh Johnson or Jamarcus Russell to be your quarterback. You want a relationship with your team if you're the owner. I don't it makes zero
Yeah,
sense to me that
he
this
needs to
guy
sell the
is
team.
worse than the Carolina Panthers owner.
He needs to sell the team. So, my question, so obviously Jets fans have been in hell since 1970. They haven't even made the playoffs since the 2010 playoffs. You could argue there's a fan base that's had it worse. You could argue the Bills, four straight Super Bowl losses. It's probably never going to happen ever again. Sorry, Max. I raise this question. Outside of their Super Bowl win in 2012, here's how the Ravens season has ended. 2008, you have a rookie head coach and a rookie QB. It's the AFC Championship game. You're in the 4-minute drill down 16-14. You throw a pick six to Troy Polamalu. Steelers go on to eventually win the Super Bowl. And then a year later, you get demolished by the Colts in the divisional. Year after that, it's 2010. Game is tied. You have a 3rd and 19, and Big Ben hucks it to Antonio Brown. Gets the first down. They get a touchdown, and then you have a game tying drive. So Flacco throws it to a wide open TJ Hushmanzada, who drops the football. Steelers win that game. Eventually go on to the Super Bowl. 2011, it's the AFC Championship game. Ravens versus Patriots. They have a chance to kick a chip shot field goal to send the game to overtime. Billy Cundiff shanks it by like 70 feet.
Versus
Worst kick
Patriots.
I've ever seen in NFL history. Yep, versus
Yeah.
New England. And then you win the Super Bowl 2012. So excuse that. The one of the years later, 2014, it's the AFC divisional round. You get throttled by New England. Actually, not throttled, but the offense clicks. There's a trickery play from Amendola to Edelman touchdown. Ravens lose in a heartbreaker. Few seasons after that, Ravens lose another heartbreaker. Lamar fumbles the football against the Chargers in the wild card on a game-tying drive. And then 2020, Lamar throws a pick six against Buffalo in the divisional round. Year after that, Snoop Huntley on the goal line to tie the game. So just needs a yard, goes over the top, fumbles the football. Bengals scoop and score for a touchdown. Ravens lose another heartbreaker. 2 years later, it's the AFC Championship game. You throw it to Zay Flowers, fumbles at the goal line. Ravens lose another heartbreaker. And then flash forward, you're in the divisional round against Buffalo. Mark Andrews drops a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Ravens lose a heartbreaker. Flash forward to this year, Tyler Loop misses a game-winning 44-yard field goal. Ravens don't make the playoffs. How many heartbreaks are you going to suffer as a Ravens fan in this, dude? How many was that? That was at least 8 in the past
You're
since
going all the way
2008.
back to like 2010, man. So I mean, there's been a lot of heartbreak for Baltimore, and I'm not a Baltimore fan. I'm not a Baltimore liker. I'm not an enjoyer.
Oh, it's glorious.
More of
Don't get me
a
wrong. I love it.
I'm not an
I,
enjoyer. It's crazy.
I'm a disliker of Baltimore at the very least. That being said, I think Lamar Jackson deserves a lot more than what he's got over the last 8 years with Baltimore.
Yeah.
And like we had been alluding to, Xander, I think that Jim Harbaugh is the center of all that. Or John Harbaugh, sorry. Jim Harbaugh's
Yeah,
actually
John Harbaugh.
doing pretty well for himself over in LA in his first 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, I think that John Harbaugh has been a problem for the Ravens for a long time now, and I think that very much like Mike Tomlin, even though it won't happen this year, it's time for change of the guard.
I'm pissed because we won the division. Here you go, Tomlin. You get a 4-year extension.
It's exactly what happened, bro. When I saw him hit that dance at the end of the end of the
He
game,
says,
I
dude,
knew. I was like, he just knows he's safe for 3 or 4 more years at this point.
yeah, and I guarantee you, we're gonna get throttled by Houston. We're gonna get spanked, dude. So
Anything
same
else?
shit per usual.
Um, yeah, I mean, the only thing I got is I think we're gonna come back and talk about these games a little bit more this week. But unfortunately, fellas, I will not be here next week. I will be watching these games, floating on a boat with a pina colada in my hand and watching the games. So,
Oh,
um,
damn.
I
Nice.
will, I
I
will,
will be missing the Saturday games. Gonna watch my glorious King Jalen Brown dunk over Wemby.
oh, are you going to that game?
Hmm.
Hell yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll be on the boat. Hopefully
I'll be
the
shoveling my roof. Don't worry about me, boys.
I'll be in on my way to Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Turks and Caicos, and I hope that they have a big screening room for these games because that's all I want to do Sunday while we have one of our out at sea days because I think it's 2 days before we get to Dominican Republic, so I'm gonna be able to watch the Saturday games in Miami and then the
Oh,
Sunday Monday games in or on the boat.
I hate you for this.
I'm getting out of this weather, man.
I
Bachelor
hate you
party's
so
about to be
much.
sick.
I hate you so much.
But yeah,
I'm
that's all we
jealous for
got.
you.
What's up?
I said I'm jealous for you,
I'm jealous too. I'm gonna be freezing my ass off. It's like 5 degrees
right? My
over
nuts
here.
are gonna be inside my body.
I'm gonna be naked on the boat, man. I'm gonna be butt ass
That's
naked.
a crazy statement for the pod. I love it. Keep it.
I ain't doing that shit.
Good.
Is that all we got? I'm
Yeah.
tired. I'm ready to go to
Yeah.
bed. I think that I literally we had some shit we had to get off our chest in this episode. But
Yeah,
like,
no, that's what I like about these last few weeks coming down to the wire into the playoffs is there's been a
right.
lot more disagreement. Makes for better
Mm.
content.
But yeah, that's all we got for the In the Pocket podcast. I'm Logan Martin. That's Max Sturm. That's Xander Cook. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Tune into the next video for picks and predictions. This is the Week 18 recap video. Appreciate you boys tuning in. Peace.